Thanks, Lisa. Greetings, world. It's a great honor to be here. I'm really thankful to Sister Elisa and Brother Darian and the HealHaus community for welcoming me and inviting me to participate in this important conversation, this important moment at this epic time that we're in. I'm going to spend some time speaking with us today about the various choices we have and how we can become as choiceful and integrated as we can to live a life that's more coherent, more whole, in the face of the wild and in the face of continued terror. So I'm going to offer some prompts. I'm going to be using some slides, which I'll put up in a second. And I'm going to invite you to participate and engage in every way that feels right to you. And it might be helpful for now if folks are willing to share a bit about you, so I know who's in the space. So in the chat, if you can just drop in, where are you coming in from? Hey, Jill. Where are you coming in from, and how are you arriving this morning or afternoon, wherever you're at? How are you arriving? How are folks arriving? Could be one word. Like me, I'm arriving full. Not sure if folks have been using the chat function yet. Okay, we got some. Okay, it's coming in. All right. At least I remember there was a bit of a delay. Folks said, "All right, so we got people in the house. Oh, beautiful." So, Jill, welcome, Jill. RK, welcome from Columbus, Ohio. Arriving with an open heart. Beautiful. What more could possibly be needed right now than to be in community? Right? It's okay. I think we're good now. Thanks, Jill. To be in community, right? And that's what HealHaus offers. So. Samantha coming in from Barbados, Queens, beautiful, Washington Heights. So grateful for everyone being here. Let's dive into the content. So I have some slides here, and let's pull them up. All right. So I'm going to spend some time speaking with you all about the Wayfinder process. There's various different tools to help support and align your life. And so I'm hoping that everything I share will be useful for you. To invoke Bruce Lee, I invite you to adopt what's useful here, to discard what's not useful, and just add whatever specifically your own. I'm going to do my best to monitor the chat. It seems like I might have some. Okay, there you go. I think I got it sorted to be able to see the slides and you all. So I invite you all to engage, right? Just come in, engage the chat in whatever way you feel right. So I'm going to start just by saying a little bit about myself. So my name is Didier, as I mentioned. I'm a coach and facilitator in leadership and life alignment. And I spend a lot of my time and life and energy creating and designing learning experiences for people to step into their wholeness and their power. On this slide here is a picture of one of my ancestors, Benito Sylvain. I'm going to say a word about him and tell you a brief story about him, in part because we know that in moments like this, in moments of radical change and tragedy and terror and pain and continued inherited, internalized systemic oppression, one place we can turn to is our ancestors, who we know have survived and in many instances transformed the worlds that they've inherited, that we in turn have inherited. And so one ancestor I turn to is Benito Sylvain. He was the brother of my great-grandfather, Joseph. He was a Haitian writer and advocate and journalist, often referred to or known as one of the founding fathers of Pan-Africanism. He is a deep source of inspiration for me as one of many that stand and continue to stand for Black liberation and freedom from suffering of all peoples worldwide, certainly for Black peoples worldwide, but all people worldwide, spiritual liberation of all people worldwide. These are legacies that I honor and want to name here, because that's one thing I imagine something we all stand for, perhaps, right here, right? Our own healing and liberation. And so I take deep inspiration for that. I'm going to talk about some of the tools that I use, taking inspiration from Benito. I spend a lot of time designing workshops and retreats, as I mentioned, to help people get grounded in who they are, what they stand for, to live a more integrated and impactful life. Right? That's really what I'm about. So I'm going to hop in and say a little bit about a few things that I stand for and a few things that this work is about, really. There are really three things. The first is self-discovered truth. All right. So I know that this is kind of a projection, right? I'm not, we're not having a workshop interactive dialogue in the way that I usually work, but that's all right. I'm starting here to acknowledge that one of the first things that my work is about is helping people discover the truth of who they are, right? Sending people back to themselves. We know that the best teachers are those that send us back to ourselves. And that's what I strive to do. And that's what I hope today's brief session will do for you. Secondly is life alignment, right? To live a life that is integrated, that is whole. We know that when our lives are aligned, who we are equals how we live in the face of all pressure and oppression. Right? It's something that I imagine we all stand for and might welcome. Certainly I do. Right? And lastly, accountable support. That's what my work is about, and that's what I'm inviting in here. So I'm going to invite you all to engage all three of these things, right, in the course of the next 25 minutes or so of what we got. There are really three questions underneath each of these pieces here. First is, right, who am I, right? All of us, especially in moments of radical change, right, might ask ourselves these questions, right? Who am I? Am I on the right path? Am I on the right path for me? Life alignment, we want to know, right? How do I integrate all the pieces that I am? I'm not interested in getting super clear what my vocation might be, but my relationships are broken, or having the most amazing relationships in life, but leaving some of myself behind, right, in my relationships with family or who I work with, right? So how do we integrate all the pieces of who we are? That's a big part of what my work is about. And then lastly, I'm interested in supporting people in discerning and getting clear on what's next, right? It's a question that many of us ask, if not all the time, right? What's next for me? And so there's some support and accountability that community offers. And I'm hoping that some of the tools and frameworks and prompts that I offer today will be supportive for you in that too. One of the reasons that this is relevant, right? Sister Elisa and HealHaus are offering this language of the new paradigm, right? So given that this is a moment for us to consider that there's something emerging here, right? If there is a portal that's been opened, so to speak, a portal that's on fire, right? What's on the other side of it? Some folks are calling this a moment to really reevaluate the world, clearly, the systems we're in, but also our lives, right? Some folks are calling this new paradigm as kind of the great reassessment, probably invoking ways people think about kind of a great depression of a past time, right? A great reassessment, periods to really take a step back and discern, right? What's going on? What's going on right now in the world and also for me, right, personally? That's one way I'm interpreting what the new paradigm is about. And right, as all of the wisdom traditions of the world have told us, right, we know that no reassessment or change happens unless we start within, right? So that's what we're up to here today. So I want to start and just ask you all here, right, just to engage a little bit, since we got so many great folks in the space. What, if anything, are you currently reassessing about your life? I'm asking this, and you can feel free to jump that in the chat. I'm asking this because that's going to be material for us to work with and for you to work with today, right, in this brief session. So what, if anything, are you reassessing about your life? Feel free to put that into the chat. All right. Helen or Helen, reassessing purpose. Beautiful. RK, reassessing priorities. Yeah. Me too on both, by the way, like reassessing purpose and priorities and community and what am I here for. I know that being in community is important for it. We got some more things here. Malne, my relationships and purpose. Davida, honing my voice. Importance of community. Ashley, my purpose. Aaron, my career. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing anyone's names wrong. Michelle, relationships, priorities. Brittany, career. Margarita, self-care, so I can strongly show up for others. Taylor, reassessing my beliefs. Beautiful. Brittany Charles, purpose. Shauna, how can I be engaged in community activism? Purpose. How I spend my time. Sure, it's a life path, support system. Michelle, how I react. This is all real stuff, all human stuff, right? DJ Hardy, who I truly am. Beautiful. Ciara, placement. Chanel, my career and identity. Stephanie, my privilege. Forgive me if I'm not able to call everyone's name here, but this is beautiful. I invite everyone just to check out what the beautiful intentions that people are naming here. Lourdes, staying in connection to myself and my communities. Beautiful. Alexis, my spirituality. Hey, Melissa, how can I be closer to nature? Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful, right? So these are all intentions that we're offering. Feel free to keep them coming in, right? Enter it into the space and let it be material to work with, right? Chanel, my spirituality, beautiful. So with all of these intentions, all the things that we were reassessing, right? We know that we have support, right? We know that we have support, right? And that's why we're here. And in a way, we know that there are at least 3 places that we often can go to, if not all, right, to get the support that we need, right? One way I think about that is with regards to therapy, mindfulness, and coaching, right, where therapy often is a place we can receive support to care for our history, to care for our past experiences, our cultural upbringing, our trauma. Therapy cares for all these things. Mindfulness being something that we know cares for and brings attention to how we become present, embodied, awareness, meditation, whatever that practice might be for you. Coaching, something that's more attentive to the future, right? What are the new possibilities, new outcomes, clarity, new skills, accountability? All 3 of these things are important, right? And one way to kind of synthesize, certainly the way that I think about my work, and I'm offering this because we have so many different practitioners in the space, right? And we have so many different gifts. And how beautiful can it be to put these gifts in conversation with each other, right? And that's kind of what we're up to. That's what I'm seeing with the new paradigm is about, right? How we bridge these different disciplines and modalities. I see therapy, mindfulness, and coaching as really being about healing, embodiment, and choice, which we all need, all 3 of these things. We can't leave any one of them behind, right? We can spend lots of energy on healing, getting clear on what our challenges might be, right? Spending many years with a talk therapist or in therapeutic practice, but nothing might change because we don't have the new skills or new tools, right, in order to shepherd a new future. Similarly, right, we can spend a lot of energy and time in coaching, get all the tools that we can get, right, but nothing's changing because history is rushing forth and we haven't attended to it, right? There's some healing and therapy needed, right? Sometimes mindfulness can be a way of bypassing, right, both history and future, right? So we know that all 3 of these things are important and we need them together. That's wellness and freedom. That's what we want, right? That's what we're here for. So I'm going to spend some time coming from a frame of coaching, acknowledging that all 3 of these things speak to each other. I'm offering here that we know that the path to self-discovery starts with self-awareness. So I'm going to offer a tool that will be something that I hope can support you in your own self-awareness to become more choiceful, right, in this new paradigm and this great reassessment for you, right? And one of the ways that we can do that, we can start our own self-discovery and life alignment, or deepen our self-discovery and life alignment, thinking about all those intentions that you're all naming, right, by asking ourselves 5 key questions. I'm going to go through these questions. And I'm going to invite you all to engage, just engage the questions. And if you have a piece of paper and a writing utensil, feel free to pick that up and work with me here, right? If we want to do some work, I'm happy to be supportive in whatever way that I can. If you're in this place of receiving, do what feels right for you. Okay, so 5 questions. Here we go. first question is this, and I'm going to offer some brief framings around each of these. All right. What sorts of things, if they happened more or less often, would bring more alignment to my life? For folks who may have worked with me before, this question may feel a little familiar. We can always remix these types of questions, right? And each time it's new, right? Especially given the intention or context. For you, right? What sorts of things, if they happened more or less often, would bring more alignment or a sense of integration and coherence to your life? Right. So for me personally, for example, I feel that if I had more time, honestly, I know people are talking about a lot of time being opened up here in this moment, but I actually feel I'm quite full. And if I had more time, I feel like I'd be more aligned in my life right now. But how about for you, right? How about for you, right? What sorts of things, if they happen more or less often, would bring more alignment to your life? And DJ Hardy, thank you for the question. What does alignment actually mean in this context? So I'm offering a real sense of integration of all the different pieces of who I am, right? I have a personal life. I might have a vocational life or a work life or a family life or a community life, right? And one way we can think about alignment is when all these things are integrated into who we are, rather than kind of fragmenting some of myself over here in this part of my life or that part of my life. That's one way to think about alignment. Another way to think about alignment, again, is when who I am equals how I'm living, right? So what sorts of things, if they happen more or less often? I hope that's helpful, DJ Hardy. So Jill says balance. All right. Deja, I hope I'm saying your name right. Balance. Yeah, beautiful. Okay. So think about what that is for you. And one way we can think about whatever we might come up with here, right? Yeah, for some reason it getting kicked off, but let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Not sure why that's happening, but we're gonna keep it moving. Gonna keep it moving. All right. Hopefully y'all are still with me. Hopefully y'all are still with me. Okay. More quiet time. Davida, allocating time for self-care, more structure. Nati being more intentional on goals. Beautiful. Okay. All right. I'm with y'all. Great. Clear boundaries. Khalifa. Beautiful. So again, offering that this is one way we can think about complaints, right? Just lovingly, right? And one of the ways we can reimagine what our complaints are, what we say, right? We wish that we had more of or less of in our life. And I'm seeing some other additional beautiful reflections in the chat here. Stephanie, creating routines that are beautiful, that are beneficial for mind, body, and spirit. Kat, more swimming, more ocean. Biz, more strategy aligned with purpose. Beautiful. So one of the ways that we can re-understand what these complaints might be, right, or wishes or intentions for greater alignment in our life, is that there's something beneath these intentions or complaints. There's something beneath them that we really stand for, that we really care about, right? Kat, you're saying drinking more water. Well, there's something that drinking more water makes possible for you, right? Tanisha, more nature, right? More nature makes something possible for you, something that is important to you, right? For me, I say time, right? If I had more of that, I have a greater alignment in my life, because with more time, I would be able to exercise a greater creative agency in the world. Creative agency, and that's what's important to me, which is why the second question we ask ourselves, what's my underlying commitment? What's my underlying commitment? Meaning, what's the commitment? What's the thing that's important to me underneath the thing that I named first, right? Underneath the complaint, so to speak, right? What's the commitment? What do I really stand for? What becomes possible, right? For me, I said time. And the underlying commitment, what time is really about, what I really care about beneath that is my creative agency. I know that I have a lot, there's a lot I want to create in the world, and I very much value being able to offer my creativity to the world. So, what is it for you, right? What's your underlying commitment based on what you first put in your complaint? All right, so Alexis is saying confidence, beautiful. KT, nimble body and mind. Aaron, fulfillment, creative self-expression. Jenny, discipline. Beautiful. Jill, being confident in everything I offer. Ashe, amen to that. Yes, all of it. So for you, right, it's inviting you all to take a moment and really acknowledge what's important to me, something that underlies and really keeps us grounded. Davida, doing the work. Ken, showing up. TC, peace and ease. Margarita, balanced relationships. Ashley, trusting the universe. Valerie, that's what's up. I'm grateful for that, Valerie. Thank you for sharing. Tanisha, trusting the process. Clancy, vitality and freedom. Collective healing, supporting, helping, showing up for people who can't do it on their own. Yes, DJ Hardy. Yanni, discipline. Ryan, follow through. Beautiful. All right, for all of these things, this is a moment when we can say to ourselves, honestly and humbly, and with self-compassion, right? With self-compassion, right? I know we're talking about self-compassion today. I know we are. Because this is the moment when we can acknowledge how we get in our own way. This is the moment when we can acknowledge how we sometimes do things that get in the way of the things we care most about. Which is why in the third question is, what behaviors do I do, right? What behaviors do I do that get in the way of my commitment? What are the specific behaviors? For example, for me, I said, if I had more time, I'd be more aligned in my life. I feel more integrated, more coherent because of an underlying commitment to creative agency. And I have a tendency of saying yes too often, of putting myself last in the list of priorities, of being conflict averse, of being easily distracted, right? Those are all things that I do that get in the way of my commitment to creative agency. I'm just being honest with y'all, right? So similarly for you, right? What are the behaviors that you do? And behaviors, here we want to get specific on behaviors. The more concrete you are on these behaviors, the more effective it'll be, right? If we come up with something that's abstract, that's a clue. How do we get more grounded? What does it actually look like behaviorally, right? And how we show up in the world, right? So if we say fear of judgment, Michelle, what does fear of judgment look like, right? Behaviorally. Biz, you say self-doubt, what does that look like? Excellent, these are excellent, right? And, because they're human, right? And what does it look like? How does it actually play out in our day-to-day, right? RK, I'm not showing up for myself. So for me, right, concretely, that would be not showing up for myself. That would be when I wake up in the morning, I make sure that I check my email before I even hop out of bed sometimes, right? To make sure that someone else that's reaching out to me is cared for. That's not showing up for myself. So that would be an example of a behavior I do that gets in the way of showing up for myself, if that were to be my commitment. Does that make sense? So inviting you all to get concrete here for yourselves. And beautiful, thank you for all this beautiful engagement and participation. You all are amazing. Okay, so these are the behaviors, right? And this is usually the moment when we say to ourselves, oh, I'm just gonna stop doing that thing, right? I'm just gonna stop, right? And if it only were that easy, right? That's why we call that the New Year's resolution moment. Right? That's the New Year's resolution moment. I don't know how many of y'all do New Year's resolutions, okay? Sometimes I do. There's no shame here. We're just acknowledging, right, that New Year's resolutions, what's one of the most common ones that people often make? New Year's resolutions, right? It's often about what? Yeah, right. Getting fit, weight loss, right? And what's the average weight percentage people end up at if they make a commitment to weight loss? If they're at 100% of their weight, where do they usually end up at? Yeah, plus 3%, right? The research behind this is amazing, which tells us a number of things, right? Including the fact that there's something else going on. There's something else going on within us that gets in the way of what we care most about, right? Which is why we asked this other question, what else am I committed to? There's an underlying commitment. There's something that lies beneath the behaviors I do that get in the way, So for me, right, if I said my underlying commitment to creative freedom, right, well, the behaviors I do that get in the way, I'm conflict averse, I say yes too often, I'm easily distracted, I put myself last in a list of priorities. Those are all things I do because of an underlying commitment to being liked. That's true for me, right? And I'm calling it a commitment. That's not a conscious commitment. It's more of an unconscious motivator or an unconscious fixation. There's lots of language across different modalities that talk about this, right? I'm saying here, right, it's a competing commitment. Something else that we stand for, less than consciously, right, that gets in the way of our commitment that we're conscious of, right? If the first commitment we named, creative agency, right, that's something that's, I'm not, no judgment, right, but that's something that's kind of noble, right? This other commitment that I'm talking about here is usually a little bit more about the ego, right? It's usually more about self-protection, right? So what is it for you, right? What's the commitment underneath the behaviors you do that get in the way of that first commitment you named, right? Some folks, you're already with it. Excellent. Alexis, appreciate you sharing. Margarita, appreciate you sharing. So this is a moment, again, I'm reminding us to talk about self-compassion. Now, again, we really want to get clear on what's less than conscious, right? It's usually something to keep us safe, secure, worthy, less than conscious, right? And the idea here is that it's in direct tension with the first commitment that we named, right? These two things are in direct competition with each other. They hold us in place. It's like having the foot on the brake and the accelerator at the same time, which is why we call this the immunity to change, right? Kind of an interesting, timely moment to think about this word immunity, right? What does it mean to be immune to change? Well, I can't change. If I'm immune to change, that means I can't change because I have competing commitments inside me that literally keep me in place and keep me in the status quo, right? And with all love, we can say, thank you, right? Because I've gotten here, I've survived, right? Because of all that's inside me, all the resource that's allowed me to make it to this moment. And with compassion, I can start to do some work to consider what it takes, right? To become more choiceful, right? And one of the ways we can become more choiceful, right, in the face of what holds us in place is to consider that there's something feeding our immunity to change, right? There's something feeding it. There's something that's holding it in place. And usually it's a story, right? An underlying story, right? So that's why we ask, fifthly, right? What's the story that happens if I stop my competing behaviors? If I stop the behaviors I do, right? In this third circle, right? The behaviors that we named, right? That we do that get in the way of our commitment. Well, what happens if you stop doing those things, right? For me, if I stop putting myself last, if I stop being conflict averse, well, I'll be rejected. And if I'm rejected, then I'm going to be alone. If I'm alone, then my life, frankly, is worthless, right? That's kind of dramatic, right? But that's part of what this can be about, right? The more we catastrophize, the more that we really elevate. Like, what's the risk going on here, really, for me? The more that we can get clear on what's holding us in place, right? So we want to get clear on what that might be. All right. And with compassion, again, acknowledge this is all about being human. And we want to be more choiceful or more willful in what we care most about, right? We want to be more choiceful and more willful in what we care most about, right? So that's what this is intended to help us see, right? So as we get to a point here where we can acknowledge the immunity to change that lives inside us, if we want to be more choiceful, this is a chance where we can say, all right, choice, right? What's a smart, low-risk experiment I can do in the next, let's say, 2 weeks that can help me move off of my immunity to change, right? So for me, right, my immunity to change, right, was about creative agency and then being liked, right? And then how those things come together. So one small experiment I can do is turn off my phone all day on Monday and not check email, right? That's one thing, one small experiment I can do. What is it for you? Just think of something small, and then what's someone that can hold you and support you to that, right? We're talking about care. We're talking about getting more choiceful. And we're talking about the fact that we have small experiments we can do. We know that we are what we practice. We are what we practice. So we want to focus our attention. What am I practicing? What am I practicing? Right? Cue Allen Iverson meme / video for those that have seen that, right? We're talking about practice. Yes, we're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. Yeah. So what's a small low risk experiment or practice you can do in the next couple of weeks, and who can hold you or support you to that, right? Think about that for yourself. And if you feel moved or inspired, feel free to drop that into the chat. And this is a community, right? And so I'm hoping throughout this day, each of you have been able to hear something new, try something new willingly, and or at the very least find a sense of community to support you to do new experiments, to find new practices, right? If this is resonating with you, feel free to share a word, right, on what's sticking with you here, what's resonating, right? Even if it's just one word, what's resonating with you? I invite you to put that into the chat. What about all this is resonating with you? Feel free to add that to the chat and let me know how I can be supportive. I want to offer a brief poem here as we come to a close. Right? Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worth of rescue. That's Clearing by Martha Postlewaite. I hope that is of service to each of you. Just want to give a shout out to a couple additional opportunities to stay engaged and connected. Right, there's some group coaching work that I do. Feel free to check out the link on my website there, djsadvan.com/coherence. I love working with folks in group settings, in addition to individually in group settings. It just deepens learning. Right, there's a 90-day coaching program I'm starting to do, building off of this work. If this has been resonant with you, check it out and hit me up if you're interested. Also doing some free consultations through HealHaus. Right, love this community, love being of service. So check out that link there. Just hit me up through there for a free 30-minute consultation. And you can find me on Instagram. And I'm so grateful to be here with you all. I really am. I want to say thank you deeply for allowing me some time to be with you and to learn with you and to love with you. That's what we're doing, yeah, in community. Grateful for you all. Blessings for a beautiful remainder of your day. Sending much love.